What's up, YouTube? Welcome back. 357 Sig Ammo Test Series number 7. We're rocking with another Underwood. This one's going to be another jacketed hollow point, but this one's going to be the 124 grain version. This one's traveling at an advertised velocity of 1,475 feet per second. The last one was a 115 grain offering, traveling at an advertised velocity of 1,550 feet per second, and we did achieve 1498. We'll be using the trusty, dusty, beaten and battered chronograph to try to confirm those numbers for this batch, though. We'll be using the same firearms as our last test. We have a 5-inch 1911 Sig Nightmare, and we have a 4¼ inch M&P 1.0 357 Sig, of course. We'll be hopefully using these firearms to hit these X's or at least X rings on both of these B8 targets. We're going to check offhand practical accuracy, we're going to get an average velocity, and therefore a foot-pound measurement. And then we're going to see how those numbers translate out in the gel block. We got 10% clear ballistics gel, two 20-inch gel blocks for a total of 40 inches. I don't expect to come out of the first one, but we always have a backup. Testing explained, let's get to shooting. All right, we are 15 feet off that chronograph, 20 feet off that target. We're going to be shooting the left B8 target. Like I said, hopefully we can drill the X-ring. We did pretty good with the last batch, the 115 grain stuff. We touched the X-ring. We got 1454. A little off to the side, 1441. We got in the X-ring that time, 1421. And 1425. 1431. So we didn't get to that 1475, but remember that's a 4¼ inch barrel. Let's go take a look. So with this gun today, I'm shooting down here a little bit low and to the right, but still a pretty good group. Not as good as I would like it, but I'll take it. Let's see if we can improve things with a 1911. And before I forget to mention it, out of the Smith & Wesson M&P, it doesn't feel too bad. It is a 357 Sig. It does have a little bit of recoil, but it's not that bad. I don't think it feels much different than the 115 grain. All right, same distance and everything. Now we're gonna see what the 5-inch barrel can do. A little high, but maybe touching the X-ring. We got to 1470 that time, so that's pretty close to the box. And we are at 1489. I think that's in the X. And 1495, so we went above the box a little bit. 1469, a little bit high on that X-ring. And in the X-ring, but high, 1476. So it is achieving the box velocity. We lock back. It does feel good out of this gun. I'm going to say that overall it might actually feel just a little bit more recoil impulse than the 115, but that could just be my imagination. Feels decent enough out of both guns. Definitely vote for the 1911 every time. Let's go take a look at the group. Not bad at all. We put 3 in here and 2 right above it, so I'll take that. That's probably definitely my shooting. The 115 grains, they group just a little bit better. Take a look at that video. It's definitely cool to compare the ammos. Like I said, we're going to do the 147 grain next, so it's cool to see what they do all together in these tests. But out of both of these guns, very acceptable, especially for just defensive. I mean, for fun practice, this and that, yeah, but for defensive, what you need is inside this black, and you definitely have that achieved. All right, we're just about 15 feet off the chronograph and target. I'm going to try to hit that lower left corner. See how it goes. I did not hit the lower left corner, but 1448. $14.48. and I smacked it right in the middle where I didn't want to, because then there's no room for another shot without getting somewhere on the edge, but we'll deal with it. Okay, yeah, this stuff definitely acts differently than the 115 grain. We didn't get that explosion effect in the beginning. We just had one solid wound track pretty much through the whole thing. It did start out a little bit larger. I would say the most violent part of it went to about 7.5, maybe 8 inches at the max. We do have some petal loss in there. You see a couple little pieces of lead within it, but it's a nice consistent track. Like I said, it goes straight, and this one pokes down to 16 inches. I would say that's at least the visible part of the penetration. Bounces back to like about 14 3/4, 15 inches, rests right there face down, and still has a lot of the copper intact, still has some lead on there. We'll pull it out here in a minute after we take the other shot, but that's a very consistent, nice wound channel. Very awesome. From the top, you see pretty much the same thing, just the big part of the wound channel, and then you see some loss of lead right there doing its thing. I don't know if it turned around too many times, but there you see it with the petals peeled back. Let me try to focus a little bit better on that. So you see them peeled way back in there. We'll get it out soon. Like I said, let's take another shot with a 1911. All right, for camera purposes on the slow-mo part, I gotta try to hit this in the upper right corner. But we have a 1911, and those have special magic powers, so I think we can do that. We did it. We might have come out of the top, though. So, well, let's see. We got 1498. That's definitely more than the box said. $14.98. That is awesome on the foot-pound meter, I can tell you that right now. And we were lucky we did not come out of the top. We got pretty close, but good enough hit. Let's take a look from the side. So it appears at first that they pretty much did the same thing. That's an increase in velocity, though. So we did have a little extra pedal loss, I would say, right there, as opposed to the one underneath it. We lost a little bit more pedals on the way. We actually lost a piece of copper right there. That copper piece is at the 13.25 inch mark. The projectiles landed at the exact same place at 15 inches, or maybe 14 3/4, and they pretty much almost had the same bounce back. I would say the bounce back from the first shot was just a little bit farther, and it almost tried to come out of the top. You can see it has a little bulge right there. Pushing, it wants to go through there, but it did not. So, pretty cool. They perform pretty consistent to each other. They're not that far off in velocity, but sometimes you see major differences in the two different guns. Today, not so much, except for that early on explosion effect out of the 1911. Like I said, the 1911 has magical powers, and I highly recommend it. From the top, since we are really close to the edge of the gel, we're getting a good view there of some of the leftover effects of maybe some burn that was going on in there, and you do see some extra chunks of lead. Nice little wound track down there. We have that piece of copper that shedded off right there, and then the bullet resting, trying to bust its way out. We'll go ahead and help it out. We'll get them out of there, and we'll take some measurements and take another look at it. All right, so here they are dug out. This is the one from the M&P 4 1/4 inch barrel, and this is the 1911 with a 5 inch barrel. These, like I said, are different, definitely performing than the 115 grains, and they look like it when you go ahead and flip them over. They have the same kind of smushed flat front face, and they have lost some petals, but the copper jacketing part of those petals definitely wraps behind them a little bit more. Look a little bit more gnarly. They did land pretty much face forward-ish, kind of. They didn't land backwards, but they didn't do a whole lot of terrible tumbling or anything in there. I think they, for the most part, travel like that and at the end spin around. Could be totally wrong, but they look pretty gnarly in the end. Definitely don't want to get hit with that. The one that we just calculated out for that shot, I believe just hit 617 foot-pounds. That is absolutely bananas. So you can tell why they have deformed themselves a little bit. The weight from the one that came out of the M&P is 104.6 grains. That's what we have left after it shed some parts of itself. And the one from the 1911 has 98.1 grains left. The best I can get you from the M&P round is going to be 0.578. Yep. And then out of the 1911, the best I can get you is going to be 0.533, 0.540 maybe. One more angle to check. 0.542. There you go. So accuracy, speed, pretty good wound channel, shootability. I'd say that's another good one. I really like 357 Sig because it does balance things out pretty good. Let me know what you think about this version, the 124 grain of the jacketed hollow point. Let me know which one you carry if you do carry this stuff. We're going to be doing the testing on, like I said, the 147 grain next. We're going to put that up really quick, and then we're going to do a video kind of comparing them all three together. That'll be pretty cool. Thank you to everybody that helps support the channel by watching, sharing, liking, all that stuff. Patreon members, that's all awesome. We appreciate it. Come check us out on some of our live chats every now and then. Those are fun. And we have a whole bunch of different playlists on a whole bunch of stuff for you to check out. It's not just gel testing. We do all kinds of things here on the Turkey's Opinion. Hope you enjoyed this video, and until we see you next time, stay safe, have fun, and keep shooting.